Hello, this is Lyle Fass, and we are on the Upper West Side at the Tangled Vine Wine Bar. The Upper West Side used to be a wine wasteland. There was nothing here. You could not get a good glass of wine if your life depended on it. Well, maybe if you went to a retail store and then went and drank it in your house. But the Tangled Vine has opened, and my friend Evan Spingarn here has done the wine list, and he's done an exemplary job. And I'm going to ask him a few questions about it. And they're going to be in no specific order. But the first question I want to know is, what is your thinking behind the wine list? How did you put it together? Why did you choose organic, biodynamic, sustainable? Go.
Sure. Well, organic and bio is just, I didn't have any choice. That's just what I do. And I think it's what a lot of people are doing, which is great. We sort of hit the trend as it was cresting, I think. I just think that natural wines taste better. So when the owner, Bruce Kravitz, came to me and said, we'd like you to help us with our list, I said, that's great. We're going to do an all-European list. He said, that's fine. It makes things simpler. And I said, what do you think about organic and biodynamic? And he said, I don't know much about it. And to his credit, he went home and he researched it. And the more he read, the more he got excited and thought it was a great idea. So it fits in not only with what's going on in the wine world now, and in New York particularly, but also with what goes on in this neighborhood. I mean, there's Fairway and Zabar's and Citarella and all these incredible food places filled with fresh goods and fresh fish and fresh vegetables, a lot of organic stuff happening just in those stores. Mm-hmm. And the people that are cooking that stuff are also living in the neighborhood, and this is a fantastic place for them to come and do with wine what they've already been doing with food for several years.
So you've got like a locavore type thing going on
totally,
too.
Totally. And on the menu we're doing locavore stuff too. You know, we're trying to get as much seafood from Long Island as possible, as much upstate New York farms as possible for our chickens and our veal and for all the other things that we're serving.
Very cool. And now I just have to zip straight to a thing that I'm very interested in. Orange wine,
yes.
Baby. This is the second orange wine list I have seen in this city, and
really?
I am so happy. Yes, my
Did someone else do it first?
Levy Dalton at Alto, but yes. Of course. But what's going on with orange wine? Tell us about orange wine. Is it really orange? And go.
It sometimes looks orange. It sometimes looks burnt umber. If you remember that color from your Crayola box, it sometimes looks brown, sometimes yellow. All it is wines that have been made, white wines, almost always, that have been made in a really, really non-interventionist style. I mean the kind of wines that the winemaker's great-grandfathers were making. They do all kinds of things, or they don't do all kinds of things, I should say. It's all spontaneous yeast fermentation. They sometimes put them in giant clay amphoras and bury them in the ground. They leave them open to the air so they become oxidative. They do all kinds of strange things to it in a very non-technological way. Technology is not what they're using to make these wines. They're doing them in the most old-fashioned, almost backwards kind of way that they can. The result is these cool, fascinating flavors that I think most people have never had before. A lot of sherry-ish kind of qualities to the wines because they're oxidative, and a lot of cloudy wines. You really taste the yeast. It's like the difference between drinking fresh squeezed orange juice and homogenized, pasteurized supermarket orange juice. You're tasting a completely different product.
So more pure, more fresh, more vibrant, more alive wines,
when they're made
they
well.
Look like they're not fresh, vibrant, and alive. They
That's
look
right.
kind of almost orange, dead, floaties, you know, that whole situation.
If they're made correctly, there's a life to these wines and a vitality to them that almost doesn't exist in conventionally made viticulture. They're fascinating. They're not cheap, unfortunately, because in order to make these, I mean, you know, they don't sell 1 million cases of them like they do Yellowtail Shiraz, you know what I mean? They sell small quantities of them. They're made by grower farmers in places like Friuli and the Jura in eastern France. And these guys don't have a lot of money, but they're making this wine in an incredible work-intensive artisanal manner. So we just feature a few of them, but enough to hopefully wet people's whistle and make them interested in the category.
And hopefully it'll increase, because I think it's one of the most fascinating new categories of wine since I've been in the business. I mean, it's been red, it's been white, it's been sparkling, and now there is orange. It's very cool. Now, here's another question.
Yeah.
How the heck do you sell this to Upper West Siders?
You know, I think people underestimate the Upper West Side. I really do. I lived here for 11 years, and you know, I'm in the food and wine business, and I have weird, wide-ranging interests. There's a lot of very kind of freaky, esoteric people on the Upper West Side. A lot of artists and writers, and they bring their whole families
And my
here.
dad.
And your dad, for instance.
So
and my dad lived here for 40 or
How are
50
you going to
years.
sell orange wines to my dad? 74-year-old lawyer, hardcore New Yorker, curmudgeonly Jew type.
Right.
How do you sell him orange wine? Go.
Curmudgeonly Jews, those are my people.
Yeah. How do you sell him orange wine? I
You
want to know.
well, first of all, you sit him at the bar with a glass of something he is familiar with. A glass of champagne or a glass of some, one of our reserve bottlings by the red. We have Burgundy and Barolo and more conventional stuff by the glass. And then once we've softened them up and chatted with them for a while, you say, you know what, this is the place for you to start experimenting. If you really want to learn something here, I can sell you another glass of Barolo, or do you want to try something really great? And they'll say, what do you mean by great? And you start describing what these wines are like, and how natural they are, and how interesting they are, and how they're perfectly suited for various kinds of food that we have on the menu.
That's the food angle I think is very good for kind of the people who are
It's huge.
stuck in their own kind of world of wine.
Because people, if you tell them about weird wine, they're like, well, that sounds weird and I don't understand. But if you tell them it goes with pasta primavera, or it goes with veal meatballs, or it goes with, a roast chicken with herbs, suddenly that's making more sense to them. It gives them something concrete to grasp onto. That's how I sold wine at retail for all those years.
That's right. Evan worked at a retail store, one of the biggest, most important ones on the Upper West Side, called Nancy's Wines for Food, and that's actually where I tasted one of my first great Rieslings in my life, and he sold it to me in '88, von Schubert Apsberg Auslese. It was wonderful, and that's a great segue into Riesling. You have a particularly good amount of Riesling on this list, and I want to know why. Why is Riesling so great, and how is it selling?
Well, I mean, I think you and I have similar feelings about this.
We have very similar feelings.
Riesling is the greatest white wine on the planet Earth. It just is. It is, I would say, objectively speaking, it's the greatest food wine on Earth in terms of its versatility. I mean, I just don't think there's any other argument against that. It's made in a huge wide range of styles, from bone dry to a little ticklingly fruity to sweet to really sweet. It can be made, it's made very naturally, almost by, in Germany at least, almost by necessity, because it's grown in these crazy steep hillsides where they can't get tractors up. They can't do a lot of conventional viticulture with the vineyards there. So they do things a lot with spontaneous yeast. They do things, they hand harvest everything. So it's made in an artisanal, hands-on manner. It's a borderline climate for grape growing in the first place. All these places that it grows, Austria, Germany, Alsace.
Very south.
So they're making small quantities of very high quality wine that sits on the vine for a long time to catch as much sunshine as it possibly can. So the grapes have this incredible, again, life force to them, this vitality to them.
And you
this
actually
great acid and all kinds of varying levels of sweetness for different people's tastes.
You actually have a wine where the vineyard name is in the sunshine. Rebholz im Sonnenschein.
Im
So
Sonnenschein.
the sunshine is very key to these grapes.
Rebholz is a biodynamic producer in the Pfalz who's obsessed with terroir. So if you walk through the vineyards with him, one piece is on sandstone, another piece is on oyster shells, another piece is on a different colored sandstone, red sandstone.
And he labels his
limestone
wines within those geological aspects.
That's right.
Von Rotliegen or Von Bunsenstone, which is from sand and
from
stone.
red sandstone.
And that's phenomenal. I mean, that is really great. And that Rebholz is on a list. I have a love and a passion for Hans-Georg Rebholz. I think he's one of the greatest winemakers in the entire world, and he just gets so much short shrift, unfortunately, because he's in a region, the Pfalz, that's not too popular. It's not the Mosel, and he makes predominantly dry wines, and they're expensive. But Evan also, I just want to give
He makes
Evan
the
credit.
best Pinot Blanc, I would say, on the planet.
He has the Pinot Blanc on this list, and it's cheap. It's $95 a bottle for this wine, which is a very low market. I got to commend Evan for that.
Thank you.
And it's something people should definitely try. And then the last section that I have to tell that is really great, you have a section called Gamay.
Oh yeah.
Phenomenal. Why Gamay?
Oh, you gotta have it. Gamay is the grape of Beaujolais, but everyone associates Beaujolais with something negative. They think of it as Beaujolais Nouveau, which is the kind of poppy, bubblegummy wine that comes out every November. But real Beaujolais is one of the great drinks of France, and it's made from the Gamay grape, and it comes from a little region just south of Burgundy. And a lot of people think that it should be included more openly and officially in the Burgundy appellation, but that's another story. Gamay is a light-bodied red wine with fantastic acidity and really beautiful, bright fruit. It grows in Beaujolais and also up in the Loire Valley, where it makes a sort of a drier, more minerally, more intense, often more complicated wine. And I have versions from both places. And it's a grape that people would love if they just gave it a chance. I think Americans particularly, because Americans like a lot of fruit in their wines. And these wines are like they're ebullient, they're popping, they're like.
But Americans also like wines
it's like
that
a
are
smiling red wine, you know.
But Americans also like wines that are dark, and Gamay
Yes.
typically will have a light color.
True.
What happens when you pour someone a glass of Marcel Lapierre, who is particularly light, and they say, this is too light, I want something purple? What do you do there? How do you handle that?
Well, I mean, we'll be happy to take the bottle back and either drink it ourselves or pour it out by the glass for people at the bar who are interested in tasting an incredible wine. Marcel Lapierre, probably the best, you know, a lot of people think the best Beaujolais producer in the region, certainly one of the top guys. So, I mean, we're not shy about I don't want to make anybody unhappy with a wine they weren't intending to order. So we'll take it back and pour it by the glass and bring them something heavier and richer, Cabernet, Syrah, Zinfandel, whatever. Not Zinfandel, because
So you don't kick them out
we
of the
don't
street?
have them. I slap them about the face once or twice just to
Because
make them
they
feel
need a slap.
the hot burning shame of their choice. But no, other than that, we'll let them stay and spend their money here.
And then the final thing about this list, which I think is the greatest possible thing about this list, you have written descriptions for every wine
Yes,
on the list.
every single one.
Why do you choose that?
Why not? I mean, why don't people do that more often? You know, why make it a mystery for people? Food is so, not
Wine.
wine.
Close though.
Well, they're the same thing, really, in my
Yes.
opinion. Wine is so mysterious and so off-putting to so many people. Why not give them a few words of encouragement and tell them what the story is behind the wine, why it's special and why we chose to put it here, what it tastes like a little bit, and what kind of food it goes with. It's not like rocket science. It's just some helpful suggestions to get people excited about what they're looking at. People spend 15, 20 minutes with a list before they even order a glass of anything, which I think is fantastic. If I can help them get into this whole thing and get as excited about the category as I am, then, you know, that's a magical thing for me. That's half my job done right there.
And the wonderful thing about the descriptions that Evan uses is it's not this serious, you know, or very technical. It's fun. For Brunello di Montalcino Reserva Chiachi Piccolomino Vigna Piano Rosso, a deep, seductive single vineyard Brunello from the 17th century cellars. Steak spoken here.
Right.
That's great. Boom. It tells you what it is. There's a little funniness to it. Cornas Renaissance August Klopp 2007. The master of Cornas and a hero of the wine world. The Renaissance is his Young Vines Cuvée, inky purple and rock solid, peppery and steely in the nose with a mouthful of black fruit, figs, and damp earth. No one, in italics, in the Rhone achieves this kind of intricate minerality. It's more or less ready to drink, but you better like big reds for this. It's just great descriptions.
Thank
I mean, people are going to understand what that is.
You try to write it in English, because if you do it in wine speak, you're just going to get people running away from you, like they do from, you know, wine magazines and wine books and other places. And I should add this. I mean, they're not alone here. We have a fantastic staff that's trained by our amazing general manager and partly by me as well. And, you know, if people aren't in the mood to read a book on wine, which they're provided with, you know, that's what the staff is there for. They'll say, what do you want? What do you like? What are you eating? And they'll come up with amazing suggestions for people. That's a part of the whole experience, too, the human element.
Well, Evan, thank you very much. That's been a great, great interview.
Thank you.
And anyone who has not gone to the Tangled Vine, which is on the corner of 81st and Amsterdam in the West Side, former wasteland of wine, I encourage you to go. So Evan Spingarn and Lyle Fass here, signing off.